Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the invocation, the national anthem, and honors to Brigadier General Kraft.
Tara and Aaron. Forward, march.
Let us recall that we are in God's presence with a moment of silence. We invoke your divine assistance, Heavenly Father, upon all present here today as we celebrate the retirement of Master Gunnery Sergeant Timothy Lepsch. With humble awareness of our great need, we look always to you, O Lord, that everything we do may begin with your help, continue with your gracious assistance, and in you come to a holy end. As we congratulate and thank Master Gunnery Sergeant Lepsch, we look to you, Heavenly Father, that he and all those who serve may inspire us to likewise give heroically of ourselves for this great land of the United States of America, and that in your goodness and love have bestowed upon us. Remember, Lord, in your mercy, all who have paid the ultimate price with their lives for our freedom. Give them, we ask you, eternal refreshment, light, and peace. Send your divine blessing upon all our military men and women, especially those deployed at this moment in harm's way. Let all our words and actions this day and every day be for your greater glory. We live and reign with the Son and the Holy Spirit, one God forever and ever.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. It is my pleasure to introduce to you the Principal Deputy Cyber Advisor, Office of the Secretary of Defense, and our presiding officer for today's ceremony, Brigadier General Dennis A. Kraft.
Thank you, and welcome everybody. This is really an honor for me to be here. And I'll be honest with you, I was really concerned today to make sure that I could escape the Pentagon and make it here on time. You have no idea. I normally have this reaction to leave the Pentagon as quickly as possible, but today even more so than any other day, so that we can really honor your service. And it's a big day. But you know, somebody told me a long time ago that I thought about. And this is the idea of retirement. And I really did think of you today when I reflected upon that remark that was given to me. And it was from a Sergeant Major Small, which you may remember from Okinawa and our time together there. We were talking about retirement, something I was considering a few years ago, and I'm going to get around to it. But I was considering that, and I said, you know what, I'm not so sure I'm ready to not be a Marine. And he had been retired for many years, and he thought for a minute, and he goes, sir, do you not think of me as a Sergeant Major? As I'm calling him Sergeant Major, he's been retired for 5 years. And I said, of course you are. And he goes, yeah, you never stop being a Marine. And I really thought about that, and you'll never know what retirement is. But being a Marine Corps, or being a Marine, coming into the Marine Corps from your town in Wisconsin, and your journey over the last 3 decades is not something that we're going to get out of here. And that's good for the Marine Corps and good for the next generation as you continue to tell your story through your example in your next chapter. And really for the family, for Michelle and for kids, I'll do this right up front. This is a team sport. We say that all the time, but the number of missed meals, the number of deployments, the number of late nights, I don't know what point in your marriage you stopped listening to him when he said what time he was coming home, but there was a time in your marriage where you actually thought what he said was accurate. And then you realize over time, it's not that he's lying, it's just the work never ends. And he put his heart and soul into everything he did. He did it for his country, he did it for his family, he did it for you. And to me, great inspiration and motivation. So thank you for all you've done and you'll continue to do. So this is easy for me. And many times I think about events where I watch people come up and speak and they bring notes and they try and chronicle an entire career and they just have to rehearse. Did you and I rehearse at all? Didn't speak to you once because I don't have to. I have real skin in the game when it comes to my experience and working relationship with this man that spans quite some time. Now, I will say, 30 years is impressive, but I got you by about a year and a half, so I'm still a young one, as far as I'm concerned. But what I really reflect upon is, you first looked at his career, and it really is storied, and it really is varied. We have people that get into a specialty, and it's a microwave comms tech. That's kind of how you started off, and I'll be honest with you, those days to me were very fleeting because you became a maintenance chief far earlier than you were given a designation of maintenance chief. And you started to really branch out and you learned more, part of it because of your own desire, but the other part is the Marine Corps didn't have all the right people to train and it was on the job and you were required in order to move the machine forward. So you've got varied time with the wing, but we don't talk a lot about is your time with 7th and 8th Comm Battalion. So you've seen a different side of the story, but then you got bit in controls looking at the Comm Squadron in 48, both in a tour out in California, then out in Illinois. And then what's really interesting is you became Mr. 3-Meth, like no one's business. And that's really where we spent the bulk of our time. But starting off in the Comm Squadron out there, progresses into the control group, finds himself at the wing, and then at meth, holding every billet you can possibly hold. And in competition with people who had more experience than you at certain times, but no one was better. And I say that with all confidence. I am the beneficiary of receiving successful fitness reports and reaching my change of command with the band on more than one occasion because of you. I found it rather difficult to complete training on Okinawa because we couldn't use our gear like we needed to. Maintenance was a high priority, and I had a lot of inexperienced people join me on my teams. So despite the fact that you were running things at a much senior level, you had no problem rolling up sleeves, coming down, training, teaching, and leading from the front. And once I found out I could tap into that talent, I know I abused it. Somebody asked me, did he serve at Max 4 or at Control Group, at the time you were there? And I said, let me share something with you. He served at every unit I was ever in Okinawa because I needed your talent, and it would be hard-pressed for someone to understand where your desk was because you didn't really see it very much. And for that, I'll tell you, every accomplishment that we had in readiness, in new innovation, in pushing the people who support us to do the right things came from you. Influencing headquarters Marine Corps came from you. And I'll share a couple things. I don't know many people who would provide a solution prior to the problem. Most people I deal with, to include my current job, spend about an hour telling me how something is not right. And then when I'm ready. I'm ready to hear the answer and I'm looking for some guidance. And normally that's where the conversation ends. Hey, did you get the problem set? I do. Well, thanks for your time. I appreciate that. Did we? And I'm left trying to figure out how to solve this. You never did that. You started with, let me share with you a practice we need to implement. I would listen to it and I would say, that's great. Then you would tell me why it's broken and why there's a problem. Every single occasion that we had. Now you're an educated man, so not taking anything away from you, bachelor's, master's degree, smart individual, but I had trouble, I got it. I'm not taking anything with bursting bomb on your sleeve there. But I'll tell you, in my eyes, every bit is a colonel on my command every time we've ever served together. I acted like you were a colonel around me, treated you like a colonel around me, and the last time you and I acted in official capacity was in front of the Commandant of the Marine Corps. And I drug you up to that meeting. I left early. You stayed behind because I handled the superficial introductory part. And then when the Commandant had real questions, he took over. I had to leave. And I still have this email, by the way, from the Commandant that said, hey, crowd, thanks for coming up here. Need a follow-up? You don't need to come. Bring Lepsch. True statement, though. It was almost telling me, thanks for playing, but when we really have adult conversations, we need an expert to do that. I wasn't offended by it, that's why I brought you. We needed real answers. So a professional, tried and true in every bit of the way, served your country in all callings, in peacetime, in a time of war. It didn't matter the venue that we asked you to serve in, but you never stopped. You've never taken your pack off. My dad served 31 years in the Marine Corps, came up as an E1, coming in, retired as an LDO major. Was an E9 select when he went through the warrant officer, the basic school. Spent a lot of time around the Marine Corps, still doing well today, and tells me a couple things. 2 items he tells you when you know what's right for a retirement, right? One clearly is not in that top 2, and that's when you reach mandatory retirement time, right? That's kind of an impetus. But he says to do a gut check. A couple things you have to check yourself all the time. One is your motivation when you get up in the morning to go to work. If you're not aggressive, it's okay if it's false motivation some days. It's okay if your body makes noises it's not supposed to, right? And it's harder to wake up, but it's about the excitement to go in and change what it is you're doing. You've got to have that. And the second one is, if you're not nervous in some fashion before a physical fitness test, it means you've quit caring. If you don't have butterflies, if you're not thinking about it, you've probably reached the time it's time to go. I promise you on both of those exams, you'll pass with flying colors. Every day, no matter what level you're in, to include Headquarters Marine Corps in the attack 24/7 as if it was your first day. And I'll tell you what, when I hang it up in the Marine Corps, I hope to aspire to have that much energy on my last day like you did, which probably matched your first day. So hats off to you. My honor to be here, share a few stories with you. But like I said, you're not going to see a teary eye for me, because the day I find out you retired, the day I don't believe it. This is your next chapter, and you'll continue to serve us well. Thank you for all you've done. I appreciate all the Marines who supported you, appreciate your family, appreciate the community that's benefiting from your hard work. Semper Fidelis, God bless.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. The President of the United States takes pleasure in presenting the Legion of Merit to Master Gunnery Sergeant Timothy W. Lepsch, United States Marine Corps, for services set forth in the following citation. For exceptionally meritorious conduct in the performance of outstanding service as the 2800 Occupational Field Specialist, Strategic Planning Division, Command Control Communications and Computers Department, Headquarters United States Marine Corps, from April 2013 through November 2018. In a rapidly evolving communications and electronics environment, Master Gunnery Sergeant Lepsch spearheaded the realignment and expansion of the communications electronics occupational field to meet all ground electronics maintenance requirements, ensuring that military occupational specialties and structure were positioned to meet the demands of increased requirements, new technologies, and equipment integral to the command and control of the modern warfighter. He leveraged new initiatives sponsored by the Deputy Commandant for installation and logistics, such as enterprise ground equipment management, equipment sustainment, logistics data management, and inventory analysis to improve the readiness of operational forces across the Marine Corps. His leadership and expertise were instrumental in modernizing satellite communications test and evaluation procedures that increased enterprise asset availability from 75% to 90%. Additionally, he developed and masterminded the consolidation of Marine Corps calibrations laboratory facilities, reducing overhead by 15% and increased maintenance production more than 30%. His superior performance of duty is the hallmark of a career highlighting the culmination of 30 years of honorable and dedicated service. Master Gunnery Sergeant Lepsch's leadership, expertise, and complete dedication to duty reflected great credit upon himself and were in keeping with the highest traditions of the Marine Corps and the United States Naval Service. For the President, signed, Robert B. Neller, Commandant of the Marine Corps. Brigadier General Crow will now retire Master Gunnery Sergeant Lepsch from active duty. Certificate of Retirement from the Armed Forces of the United States of America. To all who shall see these presents, greetings. This is to certify that Master Gunnery Sergeant Timothy Lepsch, having served faithfully and honorably, was retired from the United States Marine Corps on the first day of December 2018. Signed, Robert B. Neller, General, United States Marine Corps, Commandant of the Marine Corps. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. A letter from the President of the United States. Certificate of Appreciation for service in the Armed Forces of the United States of America. Gunnery Sergeant Timothy W. Lepsch, United States Marine Corps, I extend to you my personal thanks and the sincere appreciation of a grateful nation for your contribution of honorable service to our country. You have helped maintain the security of the nation during a critical time in its history, with a devotion to duty and a spirit of sacrifice in keeping with the proud traditions of military service. Your commitment and dedication have been an inspiration for those who will follow in your footsteps, and for all Americans who join me today in saluting you for a job extremely well done. My best wishes to you for happiness and success in the future. Sincerely, Donald J. Trump, Commander-in-Chief. A letter from the Commandant of the Marine Corps. Dear Master Gunnery Sergeant Lepsch, the Marine Corps has been your profession for the last 30 years, and you have served with distinction. Many aspire to be a Master Gunnery Sergeant, but those who achieve it are few, and they must clearly demonstrate the exceptional leadership qualities we have come to expect from our senior Marines. You have reason to be proud of your most successful career. As a teacher of young Marines, a source of wise counsel, and an example of those soldierly virtues we so admire, you have made a mark on the Corps that will remain long after you have left our active ranks. There are many young Marines you have influenced who will carry on in the same fine tradition that has always characterized the United States Marine Corps. You have my best wishes for good health and continued success in the years ahead. Semper Fidelis, signed Robert B. Neller, General, U.S. Marine Corps, Commandant of the Marine Corps. A letter from the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps. Dear Master Gunnery Sergeant Lepsch, on the occasion of your retirement, I would like to extend my congratulations and heartfelt thanks for your many years of dedicated service and selfless devotion to our country and Corps. You have made tremendous contributions and sacrifices throughout your Marine Corps career. As you prepare to enter this new chapter in your life, you can look back with immense pride and satisfaction on all you have accomplished. You have set an example of professionalism and leave a standard of excellence for all Marines who will carry on the legacy of our Corps. My wife Andrea joins me in wishing you continued success in the future. Semper Fidelis, signed Ronald L. Green, 18th Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps. Mrs. Lawrence, Aaron, and Tara, would you please join your husband and father? United States Marine Corps Certificate of Appreciation presented to Mrs. Michelle C. Lawrence, Aaron G. Lepsch, and Tara B. Lepsch. On the occasion of the retirement of your husband and father, Master Gunnery Sergeant Timothy W. Lepsch, your unfailing support and understanding helped to make possible his decision to make the United States Marine Corps a career. You have earned the Corps' greatest appreciation for your unselfish, faithful, and devoted service. Given under my hand this 7th day of September 2018, signed General L. M. Pollock, Director, C4. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to present to you Master Gunnery Sergeant Timothy W. Lepsch, United States Marine Corps, retired.
Well, it's real. I only signed up for 4 years, just so you know. That's always really been the plan, but obviously there was a bigger calling, and this has been my life for 30 years. It's going to be hard. If I start crying, somebody throw something at me, get me back on track. But I've got a lot of people to thank. General Kroll, absolute honor for me to have you here, a retiring official. And when he says he treated me like he was a colonel, that I was a colonel on his staff, that's exactly how it was. And he flew me all over the world just like I was a colonel on his staff. So I appreciate everything for the support that you've given me. And honestly, when you look at the Marines out there and you see how a staff is put together, the officers are normally the ones at the table. It was never that way with either yourself or I know Colonel Matt Chickenelli. He had the same conversation. Both of you had the exact same conversation with me is, I need you as my lieutenant colonel or my colonel for this project. I don't care what they say, it's on you. You're representing me. Go out and do good things. And that allowed me to truly grow and understand how to manipulate the machine to make it work and do what we needed to do to take care of the Marines on the ground. For that, gentlemen, I really thank you for that. Did General Malik make it down? I wanted to thank her as well. We had a long talk. We had my out call on things that I think we need to change and how to take a look at enterprise problems. And as you look through my career, everything I've ever done has been about the enterprise. It's never been about this. This doesn't mean anything in the long run. It's what's good for the enterprise and what's good for the Marines on the ground because they're the ones that matter. And at this time, I've always been told through every ceremony, if you don't thank Mom and the kids first, you're going to go through the whole thing and forget. So while it's fresh on my mind, I'm going to go ahead and thank Michelle. We got married 15 years ago, so she didn't get to see the total crazy side of the young Tim Lepsch. But she caught the tail end of it and then calmed me down and helped focus me and bring me forward. When I was coming back from Iraq, we stopped in Shannon, Ireland. And of course, 8 o'clock in the morning, the coffee shop was closed, the jewelry store was open, and the beer was flowing at the bar. So I got myself a pint and bought her a custom-made set of jewelry, which she's lost twice now. So it's really difficult to coordinate with Ireland to try and get something here. It's not the exact one, but it's the pendant, the matching earrings. Didn't quite make it on time. I'm still tracking them on FedEx. I'm sure at some point during the ceremony, it's going to buzz and let me know that they're here. Thank you very much. And I won't forget the band. Thanks for the note. And I want to thank the band while I'm walking this way. But the thing I have for the kids, normally at a retirement ceremony, what you see gifts being presented to the family, it's flowers. Flowers don't last long. But there's two things that I have here that mean everything that I've accomplished. And it's the final set of chevrons that I'll ever wear. So, here. And some people that are not here, my mom and my dad. Mom passed away shortly after I graduated boot camp. was actually in BEC, Basic Electronics course, and had to fly home. We put her to rest, and she was in a wheelchair. When I went to boot camp, she was in a wheelchair on oxygen, and we knew her time was limited. But when I came back from boot camp, she was in her wheelchair. She looked at me. She said, "Ern, and my nickname at home is Ernie. So if you hear Ernie, I do have a twin. It's not a twin brother. It's my twin sister." She looked at me and she said, "I always knew you'd make something of yourself." And I thank my dad for never telling me that he was in the Marine Corps until after I signed the paperwork. And then gave me the drill instructor treatment, yelling at me in the backyard with a beer in his hand, telling me to get on the yellow footprints, to which, if you know my dad, you think he's just embellishing because that's the way he is. He was not embellishing. He was spot on, and I got to live through that whole thing. And I have to put one other thing to rest. Everybody out there, every time I get up to stand up to speak, the first thing I hear from the back is what? Stand up! Without fail. So, for all of you that thought for 30 years I was short, could I get my family, my sisters to stand up here with me, please? Where are you, Kimmer? So come on up here, you're part of this. I want on video proof that I can play back all the time.
He's taller.
And they're in heels. So this is the thing that for all of our life, it's like I have a twin sister. The next question is, are you identical? To which I would respond, no, she has a thicker mustache than I have. And then the person asking the question would get mad at me. Well, that's a stupid answer. I was like, pretty stupid question. Yeah. And I want to give my brother Todd just recently had a kidney transplant. And he was out, I think we wore him out in DC yesterday, taking him all to all the sites. But he broke 102 fever last night. So Todd, this is to you. He's in the hospital. Slight case of pneumonia, but they've got it in there. And, that guy started out on a really bad track. And has pulled his bootstraps up, cleaned up his life, turned around, married a wonderful woman, and is just as successful in my eyes as I have been for my 30 years. And Todd, thank you, brother. I love you. Big family, I think I got everybody. Grandma, Diane, thank you for allowing me to marry your daughter. I know at the time I sat at the house and I asked Skip for permission. First of all, Skip looked at me and said, and Skip, by the way, to avoid the draft, he enlisted in the Navy because he didn't want to be in the Marine Corps. He went open contract and they made him a Navy corpsman. So, he's just a Marine, just as much of a Marine as everybody else is. And Skip looked at me and says, "Why do you want me to marry my daughter? And don't tell me it's because you love her." I said, "It's not just that, it's much more than that." And then Diane walked in and they've got a lot of properties, and I looked at her and she's, "Oh, what are you doing here?" He's like, "Oh, I think I'm going to acquire one of your properties." He's like, "Oh yeah, which house?" I'm like, I looked at Skip, I was like, "I don't think she's getting what we're talking about." So, Diane, thank you, I appreciate it. She's short too. I'm going to get the band one more time. I also want to thank the Monaco Communications Department for providing the video and the photography for this. So my wife was freaking out. She left her phone at the house, and she's like, "I can't take pictures." I was like, "You don't need to be worried about taking pictures. You just need to enjoy this." So, Wally and Dougie. Oh my goodness, I can't forget you guys. So when I joined the Marine Corps, Wally and Doug, you guys were all about there to get me places where I needed to be. Unfortunately, being from a small town in Wisconsin, we didn't follow a military time clock. So when the recruiter told me you need to be down at the MEP Center down in Milwaukee at 6, we translated that to 6 p.m. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we were getting in the car to head out, and Mom comes out and she's like, "Hey, your recruiter's on the phone." I was like, "Oh, he just wants to say goodbye to me." It's not what he wanted to talk about. He was like, "Are you still planning on going?" I said, "Yeah, we're getting in the car to head down there right now." He's like, "You were supposed to be there at 6 o'clock a.m. He's like, "Oh, well, you didn't tell me that. You just said 6. I said, "Wally, brother, I love you, man. Thanks. You've always been there with me through all this craziness, and you helped make me be AWOL before I was even in the Marine Corps." Those are gonna make me cry, man. And Dougie, I love you, man, because these guys were like, he's only going in for 4 years, but we're gonna make sure he gets home all the time. So way back before there was GoFundMe, there was Dougie throwing parties and charging people for mugs for beer so they could raise money to buy tickets to fly me home so I could hang out with them again. So Dougie, for starting out the GoFundMe idea, I appreciate it. And of course, Father Bob, thanks for you coming down. I know he said, we were talking earlier, he said it's been over 20 years since I've been down here. And I was like, I'm sorry that I brought you all the way down here, but enjoy your time down here. And as we were going over the timing for everything, the conversation I had with him, I said, don't worry, Father, it's just like at church and you with the altar boys and the altar servers. They don't necessarily know what their cue is, but you just look at them and nod and they figure it out and say, we'll get you up there when you need to be up there. But to dovetail on a lot of what's been said about as far as being a leader, and I say it's not about me, it's about the Marines. As you look around the museum, you see wonderful weapon systems that we've had to be able to accomplish a lot of things. None of those things work without Marines, not one of them. So I look back at some of my mentors, General Kroll, obviously, Colonel Matt Ciccanelli, Colonel Jay Goods, Colonel Andekier, Lieutenant Colonels Burke, Barlow, Flynn, LeBlanc, and some of the Master Gunnery Sergeants that I've worked for over the years. Chris Moretti, I know you're in the back somewhere there. Bash, Master Gunnery Sergeant Horace Bash. And the first Master Gunnery Sergeant I ever worked for was Master Gunnery Sergeant Lee Felzak. And that man absolutely had the best sense of humor, because one day he was walking through the shop and I was Lance Corporal Lepsch, and he had a football cradled in his arms and he was walking with purpose, with meanness in his eyes. And I was like, Master Guns, what are you doing? He says, I'm going over to battalion because I need to teach him how to carry the flippin' football, because they keep fumbling it and they don't know what they're doing. But he dovetailed it with that afterwards. He says, but then I realized I'm just going over there to complain about a problem. He says, so the point he made from that day on was, if you're going to go just complain about a problem and not provide a solution to the problem, you are nothing more than part of the problem. And that has stuck with me ever since. And that is solidified in my brain, and it's the first thing I attack things with, just like you said, sir. You get a full 1 hour brief on what the problem is, and there's no solution coming at the end of that. We have to be about solutions. We have to be about the Marines. And a story, hey, Chuck, where are you? Chuck Anderson, big bearded guy over there that just, oh, by the way, he just retired 2 months ago. No, Michelle, that's not what I'm going to look like in 2 months. Yeah. But,
Have more hair.
yeah. I look back at my start in the Marine Corps, Chuck, and what you didn't know is everything we went through to keep you in the Marine Corps, the one thing that we both loved, and she was fighting back on you, I actually did screw up. And I had great leaders, Gunnery Sergeant Kevin Zollner, Gunnery Sergeant Bob Hall, Master Gunnery Sergeant Jack Purcell, and Gunnery Sergeant Gene Davis. When I made my screw up back in 29 Palms, fresh in school, 4 years is all I would have had. But I had leaders like that that saw something different and stood up for me. And that's the other thing that solidified who I am as a Marine, is your Marines are everything. You treat them right, you show them why they need to be doing something, and show them that they're part of something bigger, not just because you're saying something. That right there will make the Marine Corps, any entity, successful. And I'll close out with, this is probably going to be the one that breaks me, is the minute I posted up on Facebook my retirement ceremony, immediately afterwards, I got a message from a Marine that worked for me over 13 years ago. And he says this: Master Gunnery Sergeant, I wanted to congratulate you on your retirement. As a young Lance Corporal in your charge, you showed me what lead from the front looks like. Many senior Marines preach those words, however few hold true to them the way you were able to. Now as a father and a small business owner, I use the leadership traits I learned from you 13 years ago. You ensured that I wasn't doing a job without understanding the bigger picture of why. It's easy to tell a junior Marine because I said so, but you took your time to explain and teach, and for that, I thank you. The Marine Corps allowed me to gain the traits I needed to succeed in life, and you are a vital part of that. You have a larger impact on my life than you will ever know. I thank you, and once again, congratulations and good luck. And that is how I sum up 30 years of Marine. Because it's Marines that look back to your leadership, your guidance, and the things that you teach them, and the things you learn from them. That's what the Marine Corps is about, and that's what we have to remember. Is as crazy as the machine works up here, if we forget that, we've lost our focus. Because none of this stuff in here works without the Marines behind it. And I think that's it. But for that, everybody, I look around here. For the award, I do want to say one thing. This award is everybody in this room pulling together to answer the questions and make the machine work. If you don't work together as a team, nobody up here can do it alone. You have to pull together and get together and talk. Not think you're the smartest person in the room, but actually talk things through and figure out how to move it the right way so that we can take care of the Marines. And so everybody that's traveled from far away, I appreciate y'all coming down here. It's been a long ride. There's Steve, now I see you. I got you. Steve Denton, the man who keeps CS together. Thank you. We've had a lot of long conversations, and Steve as well. You never held me back on anything that I needed to go and do to represent the organization, and I appreciate that. Thank you, sir. With that, I'll close out. I appreciate it. I'm going to miss it. I'm not going to lie, but you're right, sir. There is no such thing as retirement. Michelle and I joke about it. We say we call it rehirement. So there are bigger things on the plate. Two people I did forget are Levi and John here. Gotcha. So for those that don't know, Levi, John, and the crazy mad scientist in Alaska, Chris, and I we are partnered up in a startup to do just that, solve problems. And I think we've got a good solution to help solve some problems. And it's really interesting. Gentlemen, thanks for bringing me on board. Levi, thanks for always twisting my mind whenever we had a minute to talk about things, because I hadn't been that excited about something in a long time. And Michelle will tell you that. She's like, it's the Marine Corps and that. Those are the two things that get you going. Sometimes beer will get me excited too. But thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it. Appreciate you bringing me on board with the team. And thanks to everybody out there.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the playing of Anchors Away and the Marines Hymn. please take your seats. This concludes the official portion of today's retirement ceremony. At this time, Master Gunnery Sergeant Lepsch will be presented with the American flag. It is traditional for retiring Marines to receive an American flag on the occasion of their retirement in recognition of their service to their country.
For years, this Marine stood the watch. While many of us lay about our bunks at night, this Marine stood the watch. While others of us were attending school, this Marine stood the watch.
And yes, even before many of us were born, this Marine stood the watch.
As our families watch the storm clouds of war breaking the horizons of history, this Marine stood the watch.
This Marine looked ashore and saw his family, often needing guidance, but he knew that he must stay because he had the watch.
For years, he stood the watch, so our fellow countrymen could sleep soundly at night, knowing this Marine would stand the watch.
Today, we are here to say the watch stands to be relieved by those who have led, guided, and trained. Marine, you stand relieved. We have the watch.
Master Gunnery Sergeant Lepsch will now be presented with a gift from his colleagues.
That's a two-man lift here. As we all know, an official retirement and career is not over until the obligatory shadow case is presented here, but it's an absolute honor and privilege from all of us at C4 and the 2800 community to present this to Master Gunnery Sergeant Lepsch on his retirement. And it's got little tokens here from every piece of his career, and it even has the Old Town home newspaper clipping upon his his graduation from boot camp. It has his boot camp photo. It has last year's Marine Corps Balls picture in it. It has, like the general had mentioned, one of the many times that Master Guns had spent in the Commandant's office. He's got a nice picture in here with himself and the Commandant and the staff there. And I'll read the plaque for you here real quick. To Master Gunnery Sergeant Timothy the Oracle Lepsch, 11 October 1988 to 30 November 2018, C4 and the entire Marine Corps community. Your exceptional technical knowledge and critical thinking skills made immeasurable impacts within the 2606 and all outfield communities as the Beltway Bandit, and will benefit the Corps for many years to come. And then we got a saying here from Vince Lombardi: leaders are made, they are not born. They are made by hard effort, which is the price which all of us must pay to achieve any goal that is worthwhile. Master Gunnery Sergeant Lepsch, you have paid that price. Thank you and your family for an extraordinary 30 years of sacrifice and dedicated service. All past, present, and future 2800 C4 and the grateful nation salute you.
To the crew at C4, I said this at the going away. Where we are, probably I call us, other than the Inspector General's office, we're probably the most unloved, unknown, and unwanted section, because people just don't realize what work we do for them. But I appreciate the gift. I enjoyed, I can't believe I'm saying this, I enjoyed 5.5 years in the Pentagon. Because on day one, going to the Pentagon, you walk in there, he says, you have this look on your face like, wow, I can't believe I work in the Pentagon. By day 3, you're like, I can't believe I work in the Pentagon. So thank you to all the Marines of C4. I appreciate it. I really do look forward to seeing you guys around. If I can help out, I know I've told many, no, C4 is not really where I want to land back because I think I've got some other challenges I need to take on. So every time you really need help, you got my number, call, and I'll come back and see what I can do for you guys. Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's retirement ceremony. Thank you for your attendance, safe travels, fair winds and following seas, and Semper Fidelis.